Well, to me, it's just like Hex at a penny. Back in the day when Hex was launched in the AA, a penny was a long ways off. And there was a lot of people said we'd never hit it. And there was a lot of people in the Hex community, some are even still around, who said it would hit a penny, oscillate there a little bit, and then dump back down because it can't sustain 1 or 2 cents. And that, that mindset, so people thinking of a dollar back then was unfathomable. Then it rose to 50 cents. So you could make the same argument around 50 cents that you do around a dollar, because even at 50 cents, you've got people in the system who have way more Hex than you have liquidity, like many, many millions of dollars more. And it didn't all dump out. What happened when it ran? People were actually buying more. The FOMO gets kicked in, and some people were dumping. A lot of people took profits, but very few people just exited entirely. Just like Bitcoin. If I want to put it into a framework for you on how you can visualize it, in the early days of Bitcoin, you could buy thousands of Bitcoin for pennies on the dollar. Richard was mining 50 a block every 15 minutes, he says, right? So 200 an hour. And today, could put the calculations around that. Does that seem fathomable? No. It's like Bitcoin's at $43,000 and you're going to mine 200 an hour. It's impossible, right? But it was happening when it was all relative to that price point. Then what happens though is the price moves up. The guys that had 100,000 Bitcoin, they dumped out at $1, maybe 10. They probably didn't make it past that. Once they got that $1 million, unless you're already a millionaire, which most of us are not, you're going to have a lot of, you got life-changing wealth. That's what I'm talking about. The FOMO bags are much harder to hit. They get really heavy. And if that can change your life for the better, do you really want to risk waiting another day or two or another week for it to go to $2 or $1.50? You're going to wind up, cashing out and just taking the profits. And then you'll be like, oh, I hope it doesn't go any higher. And then it runs to 100. Like a lot of people back at Bitcoin at $10. Oh, I'll never get to 100. Gets to 100. Oh, it's never going to get to 1,000. Hell no. Could it get to 10 grand? That's ridiculous. Absurd. So you could say the same thing about anything, ETH, any of these other coins. Hex, yeah, it's had a good run up to even where it is now. But to get to $1, it just means that a lot of those bigger holders, like the guy we saw last night, they need to just dump out, and they will, because his bags are already worth 7 figures. So he can take massive profits, right? The rest of us, we have to wait for higher prices to get even a fraction of that wealth. And the guys that came in later that don't have massive bags of Hex, but they're staked out, some guys are still trying to get that 500,000 Hex or 1 million Hex. I think 1 million Hex today is still like, what, 15 grand, 18 grand, something like that. So it's not cheap. A lot of people don't have that kind of surplus cash to throw around. So that's why it's all relative. Is those guys start to flush out, and then the stakers. That's the other thing. So a lot of the people are like, oh, the sharks are, I hate the sharks, I hate the dolphins, I hate the whales, they're all jerks, and they're all dumping on our heads. No, they're staked. That's why they're ranked. You don't get ranked if you're not staked. It's the silent shells that don't have any stakes. Those are the guys that are going to be dumping on your heads. Now, when the other big guys have stakes come out, the ones that have been Hex a while and know how to take profits without just nuking their positions will be around for a long time, just like the Roger Vers and the Bitcoiners that didn't just dump their whole position when it ran to a new all-time high. I'm not saying don't take profits. We're all in the game to do that. But you kill the golden goose, or you just want to take some golden eggs and get some more golden eggs a year or two from now. You look like a younger guy. So, for you probably have to look many, many more years down the road for your, life, needs, and what kind of income you'll need to sustain even a decent quality of life in the next 40, 50 years, right? So
yeah,
a lot to factor in. You don't want to just take it all at once and then buy a Lambo and you're like, oh crap, what do I got to do now? I'm out of money.
But Lambo,
yeah. Well, there's the guys in the Hex community already have been down that road. There's a lot of people who cashed out, quit their jobs, bought a bunch of crap, thought they would live on this yield when it was 50 cents. They thought it would maybe go down to 20 or 40 cents or 30 cents, maybe 10. They'd still be okay. And then it just died for a long time and they ran out of cash. Once you cash out those bags, it's nice, but that money doesn't make any more money. That money just buys you a lot of stuff. And then that stuff goes down in value for the most part, unless you buy a house maybe. So yeah, you have to think bigger picture, but people are very short-sighted. And again, when they see those FOMO bags, that's how we can get to $1. Because when those big fish are out, the big dumper bags, I don't mean the guys that are just restaking. Who cares if they have big bags? They just scrape off their profits. It's the guys that are just all in it with, certain millions of hex, and they're like, at this price, I'm going to just dump it all. So they'll dump it all, but then they're gone. And then you know what they'll do? They'll see it run, and they'll run back in. Then they'll buy it at 40 cents for a much smaller bag.